So, Jena, I finally got you here. I've been dreaming about the day that we could do the podcast together. And I'm so happy you were able to fit this in. I know you have lots of stuff going on.
I am so honored that you're having me here.
So when I describe you, I have to say, hey, wait 1 second. Look at this YouTube video, Jena Kingsley. And people cry. They laugh so hard, they cry. And we are in such difficult, trying times that laughing is really so important. Mm-hmm. I was just in London and people laugh all the time.
All the time.
So I would think that they would be putting a crown on your head right now.
I love you. I love you. No, it's true. And I think for a while with how like oppressive the world feels and how everything feels, you know, as a creative person, you're like, it's hard to, and then finally I was like, you know, I felt I had to honor all these, you know, heavy things going on and I didn't want to be, you know, making light of anything. And I'm like, you know what? If I don't start laughing soon, I'm going to implode. So I think everyone feels that way. Right
definitely. Now. So I think the kind of comedy you do is brilliant. First of all, you have to be smart. First of all, comedians are smart. Otherwise,
1,000%.
They can't be funny. But you can do stand-up and you can also do these real life situations. Mm-hmm. So I want to describe a little bit, but then recommend you all go to YouTube and see what this woman does. So I think one of my favorites is the no selfie zone in Central Park that you wear. You're wearing a park ranger, and then you have signs up saying no selfies.
Yeah.
And you're kindly disciplining these people who are indulging in taking selfies.
Correct.
Around the fountain
in Central
fountain. Park.
Exactly.
And so where do you get these ideas?
Well, first of all, that one I think was a little ahead of its time in the sense that now it's gotten so out of hand. The filters, the selfies, the like endless, you know, the Facetune. But basically all my videos are social commentary. They're social observations, social experiments. And I try to shine a light on the things that we're doing as people that we're not paying attention to.
Right.
And once you do, you're like, that's ridiculous. It's so true. So when you have the no selfie zone in Central Park and people are still ignoring it, and then I was like, you're going to have to delete that or I'm going to have to write you a ticket. It's a $50 fine. I almost got arrested for that one.
Oh, you're kidding.
Apparently it's illegal to impersonate an officer and you can't put up official city signs on landmarks or anywhere. So, but it just.
Why let that get in the way?
It didn't. It absolutely didn't. But what's funny is after that video, real places, tourist attractions actually implemented no selfie zones because tourists were falling off cliffs. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I like to think I had the first.
I think
zone.
You should take full credit. Absolutely. I think you know, like the one in front of Starbucks. Like, what was that? Like, what were you thinking, woman?
I don't think I was. That one started. I was. For so long, I was writing. Really, that's how I started. I was writing, and my manager at the time was like, "You should try stand-up." And I was like, "Never. I'll never do that." And then I was like, "Well, I'm scared of it. Maybe I should try it." And it ended up working out. And you know, I got my first TV appearance doing stand-up, and the producers of that show. So for years, when I'd write for magazines or newspapers, I would always pitch the idea of doing these crazy social experiments. I was like, let me do them.
Right.
And we'll write about them. And they're like, no one wants to read about that. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, let me just try it. Let me make a video. I had this idea to be a bouncer at Starbucks, take a velvet rope and a clipboard and go in front of Starbucks without their permission and ask people when they try to come in, are you on the list? And I explained that you now had to register like the Genius Bar for an appointment. And I convinced the producers of this stand-up show I did to film it, thinking nothing would happen. I was going to make a sizzle reel. Nothing was going to happen. And I remember when I got out there to film and I'm walking around with my rope and my clipboard and they're like, okay, we're going to start shooting. And I have cameras hidden all over the place, like, you know, guys hidden. And I'm thinking, how am I going to look New Yorkers in the face and tell them they can't come into Starbucks? And then I just kind of got in the zone of doing it. And I got New Yorkers to wait in line. I got kicked out of a couple Starbucks. I convinced one manager to let me stay. I said Howard Schultz said it was okay. It's like a Kickstarter crowdfunder thing. I only got yelled at by 2 women. And, but everyone believed it because we are living in a world where you need an app for everything. You need to download an app to do this.
Right.
So I was like, what if I made people believe? So that went on YouTube and I thought no one would watch it. And I woke up the next morning and my friend called and she's like, you're on the news. And I was like, for what? Like, it didn't even occur to me. And it went insanely viral all over the place.
I mean, what I find the most convincing is you look so absolutely appropriate in the role that, and I don't know how you do that without laughing, first of all, but you psych yourself in such a way and your demeanor is just like you become this person totally. And it's so believable that people in New York obey.
Well, this is what I've always said about
crazy.
It. First of all, you have to believe. You have to believe you're there as the bouncer. You have to believe you're there. I did an iPad giveaway and I was, you know, terms and conditions, whatever. But you have to believe you're there for that.
Right.
And it's like acting. You know, when you act, you don't break. I've only broken one time, and it was actually over COVID. I did a Zoom prank on a board, which is a story for another time. But you have to believe it. But what I've also found, because I'm born and raised in New York. I was so surprised New Yorkers listened to me, got on the line, did all these things.
I totally am surprised.
What I've learned from these videos is if no one wants to veer from their day, if they're just going about their business, going from here, and someone stops them and says, this is what's going on, you just you're like, oh, okay. And you don't really think that someone's messing with you.
Right.
So you're like, I guess this is how they're doing it now. So no one wants to really start, you know, they might be like, what, really? But, you know, they question it, but they do it.
Right.
And I think it's because they just assume, you know, like when we're told, oh, you now have to register through an app or you have to, you just do it.
Yeah.
You're not like, you're pranking me. So,
I think you're right because there are so many new procedures. We're in this time of real revolutionary concepts and innovative ideas. So it does fit the narrative, obviously. So we both grew up in Manhattan, in Yorkville, at different times, mind you, but
Yorkville
we did.
forever.
Yorkville forever. What was happening in your childhood to get this? What
to
happened?
Make me so deranged.
What happened?
I like to say that I was raised by a loving yet dysfunctional family. That's how I describe it. My parents were so loving. My dad was a huge prankster, great sense of humor. And I think, I don't know, I started very early on. I guess I always knew I was funny. I wasn't like, you know, the best looking one or the most athletic, but I was funny. And so when I was in high school, I would actually get free taxi rides for me and my friends because I would prank the drivers and mess with them and tell them these elaborate stories to get taxi rides home from school instead of having to take the bus. So it's always been a thing. I love to mess with people. My dad used to love to mess with people. And I don't know.
Where did you go to school?
For high school, I went to Horace Mann and Columbia Prep. And I graduated from NYU School of Journalism for writing. And I was always a New York City person through and through. And I think, and you could understand this, when you're in New York City, when you're raised here, you think anything is possible.
Yeah.
Because no one thinks anything's weird. There's no outcasts. Right. There's no like the popular and unpopular. Mm-hmm. There's, the kids that used to hang out at Astor Place. Like I used to go to Trash and Vaudeville back before anyone knew what it was, and wear the fishnets and go out to the clubs. And, there was anything was possible. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think all New Yorkers have a piece of that.
I totally agree with you. And anything is possible. And if you're brave enough, which we don't know any other way because we're born here.
Right.
And you pull it off here, that's a big deal.
Right. And you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Exactly. And so I think it's not just that we're brave, but we don't have any other choice. Where are we going to do? We're going to go to Ohio to be who we are. I mean, everybody comes here.
Right.
Nothing against Ohio because there's so many great things that are going on.
Pace.
Yeah. It's a different pace and a different spirit and a different, I think it's chutzpah is the word. Like what you do takes balls. Yeah. I mean, I was telling you that when Craig went on YouTube I said, take a look at some of the things she does. And he opened like the first line of one of your lines at a comedy club. He went, whoa, okay. and it was like, oh my God. But then he started laughing. It was shocking.
Right, right.
But I think that's New Yorkers just think that way.
1,000%.
But if you have humor, then you get this. So when you meet guys, now men are going through a lot right now because women have this masculinity that wasn't typical before. And when I say this, I mean, women wake up now thinking, well, anything is possible. The way men have always been raised to think anything is possible. We don't think about glass ceilings anymore. We don't think about that. It's like, that's over. So that's a lot for guys to take.
Yeah.
But you then add someone with a brain and a sense of humor at the same time. The brain and sense of humor is this unique situation.
Yeah.
How do they deal with you?
I have found that it's been a draw. I think men like funny women.
Yeah.
I've only had one man tell me that women aren't funny. I mean, first of all, in comedy, the world of comedy, it's like a thing. They used to be a thing. Things have changed now. But they would put up, all men and one woman in a lineup. And I think some of the funniest comics in the world are women.
Yeah.
So I think women are funnier than men. So just saying. But I find that men actually find it attractive that you are brave.
Yeah.
And I think comedy is brave.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
I told you I'm getting married and my fiance is hilarious. And I couldn't ever be with someone who wasn't, because for me, comedy is a give and take. Your audience, the person you're having a conversation with, they have to be able to give it back as much as they get it. So I have found that I also grew up with this delusional piece, which is I guess I saw the glass ceiling, but I didn't. Like I knew it was there, but I think we weren't as conscious of it. So I just thought I'm doing my thing. And if it works, great.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And
I think that's part of New York attitude too. Like I knew I was doing what I'm doing before the word glass ceiling was used.
Right,
So
exactly.
I didn't really, I knew that men had advantages, but it was never a conscious thought. Never thought about it. I only thought about what I wanted to do.
Right.
And men were helpful to me, but I never had a conscious thought. However, I think for women who are funny, that's very masculine.
Yeah.
It's very masculine.
And it could be a little intimidating.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It could be a little intimidating for men, I think. I've in the past gone out and men are like, tell me a joke. And I was like, it doesn't work that way. And if you're going to say, tell me a joke, we're not the right match. But I'm like, that's not the kind of humor.
But tell me a joke is like, oh my God, did he really say that?
Yeah. And I don't even want to hear jokes.
No.
Like I hate jokes, by the way. Like I like to write bits, but jokes are, I just think of, like a grandparent somewhere. Right. But the other thing is with all my work, and, we'll get into this, but all of my biggest successes, and you'll be able to understand this as a creative person, have been because I had an idea and I thought if one or two people like this idea, that's all I care about. Yeah. Like I never went into anything thinking like I wanted to, make $1 million or have 1 million fans or be famous, like never once. And the projects that I've done that have been the most successful, like my videos, or I went in thinking no one would see it, but I thought it was funny. And I thought someone else would think it was funny too. And they were my most successful projects. This book, which we'll talk about, I wrote a blog before I started stand-up under a pen name. And in a couple weeks, agents came calling, networks came calling to turn it into a show. And I never thought anyone was going to read it. I was writing it in my bedroom. It wasn't until I got bigger and you get agents and you get producers that start talking about things like the audience and what the audience and what the network wants. And you know this from your business. Like, what is the customer like? You lose, for a creative person, it messes you up a little bit. Yeah. You lose kind of that confidence in your gut. And so that's why with my next project, I decided to just do it on my own.
Yeah, good for you. That I will tell you, for me too, I never wanted to be the richest or most famous designer. And authenticity, if I like it and I feel good about it, and my skills give me the information that I need to know about what I'm doing. But the minute you have people, and which is why I'm still the sole owner, the minute you have people collaborating on what you should be doing, you take the soul away. Right. And without that and the authentic kind of bravery of, if you make a mistake, if it doesn't work, fuck it.
Right. You tried.
You tried. But even in trying and in the failure of it, you get such a better result on the next go round, right?
1,000%.
So by doing this totally on your own, I love that you did this. You are such, oh my God, I love you completely. It's like, I could have given birth to you. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I say all the time, you're one of my favorite people. I'm so grateful for the time we met, which was now probably like 12 years ago.
I know.
But truly, I feel like we're very much on that same.
I very much so. And and bravery is a big part of it. And failing and hearing no, all of that is just part of the deal.
Of course.
So tell me about what you were thinking when you started the blog. First of all, how many years ago was the blog?
I started in 2010. So a long time ago. I was newly dating after divorce. I had never dated as an adult in New York City. I met my ex-husband when I was in college.
Okay.
And I was a young single mom. I got married when I was 23. I was a young single mom. I'm, I get divorced and I'm back in the dating scene. Only now I'm a mother, and I really didn't realize how bad dating was. Like the stories, the people, the baggage that people came with. And one night, my friends would die from my stories. And one night I started writing them on a blog under a pen name, thinking I was just going to share them with 5 of my friends. Like that was it.
Right.
And so I'd write them and I sent it to them and they're like, this is so funny. Like who wrote this? I'm like, I did. Don't tell anyone. It very quickly got a following. And then literally just 2 months, not even after writing it, agents and managers came calling. And a huge management production company wanted to turn it into a television show. We were developing as a television show. And I always wanted it to be a book and first, and then a television show.
Right.
And they were like, well, if it's going to be a book, you have to take it out of this form. You have to change the story. You need more Twitter followers. You don't have enough all of that. So I kind of just I was like, but this is what it is. It's a diary. And I left it. So we were developing it for a long time. And, it didn't get made. They wanted a different writer who had written. They told me had more experience writing. Wait, this is the best story.
I can't.
I had a more experience writing for television to write the script, and I'd be a creator. But what I found was she actually had no experience. Right, she's never written for TV, but her father was a big star. So she takes the script I wrote, she punched it up, she rewrote it. And I called the guy and I said, you rep some of literally the funniest people in the world. You can't tell me that what she did to my script is good. And he said, we are so lucky to have you because you can fix it and make it funny. So I said, if I'm going to fix my own script that I wrote and make it funny, I'll get the writer credit. And they were like, I'm sorry, she doesn't want to share it. So I walked away from the project.
Oh my God.
I walked away.
Of course you have to.
Because I was like, I'd rather it not get made than this. This is my baby.
Right.
So a couple of years later, we start developing it again. I was writing the script with a very talented writer. And it didn't get made. Things, how this business works, it didn't get made. And I had to come out and put my name on it. Because at the time I was doing all of this and they wanted to tie it together with the project. So now I was no longer Darcy. I was Jena Kingsley. And I couldn't have it out there as a dating person. These funny stories. It's like a dating diary.
Right.
So I decided to lock it. And I locked it for years and I forgot about it. I always loved it. Like Darcy is I love Darcy. Yeah. So I have a big birthday coming up this summer. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to publish it. I'm going to publish this book and I'm doing it for me. And I know that people are going to like it because the first time around they loved it. And it's coming out June 3rd. And I didn't have to get anyone's permission. And this is such an important lesson, I think, for anyone watching this. Especially if you're creative or you have a business idea. We live in a world where all you need to do to film something is have an iPhone. Yeah. If you want to write something, you can get a Substack or a blog. You can make a website. You can do it on TikTok. You don't need anyone's permission. Yeah. And so don't compare yourself to who has followers, who doesn't, who's made it, who hasn't. You have something you believe in. You put it out. And the feedback I've been getting is unreal.
I bet, the universe works in very strange ways, but timing is also so important. And I've learned too that some things that I really believed in and I wanted to happen so much, but it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, I make a simple move and say, this is what I'm going to do.
Right. It feels right.
And then it works because it's a better time
Right.
for it to be out there. And I think now relationships are so much harder than when you wrote this initially.
And what the best part about it is, I debated this, but I kept it in 2010 and 2011. So it's my period piece. It's when people still had Blackberries. There was no Instagram. And so it's like a time in New York where people would meet out.
Yeah.
And you'd meet online, but it was not like it is now. It wasn't this time. And
well, but I mean, I think what I'm saying is the issues are almost magnified and even more important to listen to hear the stories, to hear the pain, the funny, your view of it. And I just think this kind of thing has to be on television. It has to be on some live stream or network or something where it can be a series, because first of all, we need to laugh
1,000%.
and we need to get connected to characters again. There are very few shows like Friends and like all of those that were really important to connecting people. And now, because our social media and our phones are our best friends, we don't connect in the same way.
Absolutely.
And this is sort of kind of how friends can connect through these stories. I'm so looking forward to reading this. And so it's the beginning of June, right?
It comes out June 3rd. And I think you're going to love it. It's funny. I mean, it is like laugh out loud. And that's not me saying it. It's my readers who have
right. I totally can't wait. And then of course, I'm going to be reading it and wishing that you were doing the audio version of it.
I am recording an audio.
Yes.
I am recording an audio, and I don't know that it's going to be ready at the same time of release.
That's okay.
But it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
No, because I the minute I saw this, I'm like, oh my God, I hope there's an audio.
I know. It's coming.
And I think what happens is we're so used to listening to podcasts that, I mean, I will tell you, everybody in the office here, they're doing their work, but they're listening to podcasts, right?
I love listening.
And which is great, but having you do the book is like beyond.
Everyone has asked for the audio. It is, it's coming, and it may come with the launch if I could get it done by June 3rd, it will come out by June 3rd.
Well, it's about, you have a little time.
I have a little time. I have a little time, and I'm like, I want it to be right. But it's been, it's scary. It's been a long time since I've done a public project like this, but it's like exciting. And also I didn't want to have regrets. I didn't want to one day say, God, I never did anything with Darcy, and it's literally my favorite project. Yeah. So why keep it locked up somewhere in a file when I could just have it maybe on a couple bookshelves, that's.
So this is Darcy, and she represents this period, right?
Yes.
She's very indicative of a woman who is divorced and now, getting married young, having a child young, and really being catapulted into a life that she doesn't understand. Like you're on another planet almost.
It was very foreign. And I was like, oh my God. So, and I think with all dating, with every relationship, with any dates, there's lessons that you can take from it. So there's lots of lessons that Darcy takes from all of these things, but it's also touching and funny. It's my relationship with my mom, my relationship with my friends through this. And I think it's going to be the book of summer. It's a perfect beach read, everybody. So
no, I'm sure of it. So this is Darcy, and then the girl who just goes out there with these ideas and this like I don't know. I mean, this type of creativity, and it's different because it's you and unique, but this kind of experimental creativity was very big in the 60s. Like, I think about Twyla Tharp, and she would do these crazy dance things in places where, like, what the hell is that person doing?
Yeah.
And do dances and body movements that nobody saw. And she was just like in your face and captivating. And I mean, people who have this creativity, who just do these things. And that was a time where somebody gave everybody permission that it's okay to do this.
Right.
But we're in a time now where everybody is critical of everything. Like your hair,
everything.
Maybe the blonde is a little too blonde there.
Everything.
Maybe like, or maybe your eyebrow shape, or maybe your lips, or oh, you're wearing that. Like, everything is scrutinized and looked at and sort of taken apart.
Yeah.
But I think it is that time where everybody is so critical of everything, more than I've ever seen. But at the same time, I think when you come out and do something like this, because it is so brave and so funny, that it breaks down all of that criticism. And this girl also has a purpose in this time, right? So she's like this superwoman in sheep's clothing or something, right?
Right.
But what do you think? Have you thought about, like, how do you end purpose her? Like, is she automatically creating sort of an energy of, you know, just enjoy it, just get with it and enjoy it? Or what
Darcy or
well, I mean, Darcy is going to serve this purpose, right? But you have all of these sides. So, so you have the stand-up girl who's one. It's almost like they're different people in this. Like, you put on a different, you're Superwoman and now I'm Catwoman.
Yeah.
But like, so there are all of these parts of you. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how you can be all of them, and you're not just playing a role.
Right.
This is not like a movie and you're playing the role. This is a part of you.
Yeah.
So do you think about that?
I do. I actually just said to my fiance, I was like, when this comes out, what do I write next? You know, like, and I'm always thinking, you know, for me, I'm happiest, and I'm sure you understand this. I'm always happiest when my mind is going, when I'm creating something. If I'm not, it's not great. You know, like, I like to feel like I'm creating something.
Right.
So I started a Substack. You know, I have a podcast, and I took a break from it because I started a Substack. Are you familiar with? So the nice thing about Substack is I have an audience. They could opt in. They can subscribe. I mean, you should absolutely have one if you don't. I could put a podcast on there. If I feel like writing something one day, I can write it. For me, my favorite thing to write about is social observations still. So I'll do like the 5 most awkward things. So, for example, this past week, the 5 most awkward things were that I think are so awkward is 1, when you order room service and you're like laying in bed and they're like wheeling in the cart and you're like, you know, you're like, thank you. And it's just, your room's a mess. And you're like, I said, you may be drinking coffee from a silver pot, but no one knows what a mess you are, like the room service people. Or, you know, like when you walk into a little shop and you think it's one thing, so you're excited. And then the second you get in there, you're like,
what is it?
Oh, this is not what I thought. But then you have to walk around and keep saying like, oh, this is so, I love your store. I love it. And you then wonder how long you have to stay in there. Or like when you go to an ice cream store and you're like, can I taste that flavor or that? And they're getting on the little spoons, but you know you're ordering the mint chocolate chip because that's what, but you're there and they're working. And then you have to look at them after and say, you know, I'll have the mint chocolate chip. Like nothing just happened. Like that charade didn't happen. So I like to, those are the things I get obsessed with focusing on, these little things that we do that, so what's next and how do I incorporate it? I don't know yet. I don't know. I've never had a plan. And that's the beauty of someone with ADD. I just go with it. I've never, I mean, I have a plan as far as what always feels right. I know when something feels right and feels wrong.
Yeah.
But
no, I can see though, I mean, everything has such a visual, like all of your list. I just can see your description of it.
Right.
I can just see a day in the life of this person, complicated with whatever else is happening in her life. It's so necessary now to, for women especially, I think identifying, I see it, you know, I get to see these different generations in my career. And I see more than ever the idea of having a relationship, or the expectation of, you know, that same thing and by a certain age. But like now, the idea of deciding what you want for your life. I've even interviewed people for positions and I say, so what's going on in your life? And I hear more and more, well, I can go anywhere I want on vacation. I make pretty good money. I can buy whatever I want for myself. I can pretty much do it. So I rather be with people I really like. And so I don't mess up my head with having to have a deadline to meet this person who's going to take care of me.
1,000%.
Right? So there's such a different point of view about that. And the independence of somebody like you to be brave, to have to say these things, to communicate. I think having that connection with humor and going through this first time in history, really, where women are, I got this, right? That masculine energy that, and it's not about sex or gender. It's the energy that men are born with, women now have.
Yeah. 1,000%.
And they just own it. They have it. They're not even thinking that they didn't have it before. They have it now.
They have it now.
So people like you have it. You've always had it. And so that connection, I think, to you is really also timely, which is why I think this is a universe thing where it's about timing.
Timing, first of all, is everything, because when I became an empty nester 3 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yes. And that was one of the hardest adjustments I have ever honestly had to make. I didn't do well with it. I was like, oh my God, my son's going to college. And I remember when I started dating during that time, but not, you know, I was able to date differently for the first time since he was young, which is I got to date everyone and no one. I could do whatever I wanted.
Right.
So I was dating totally different. And I tell all my single friends, date totally different. I would literally tell the people I met, I was like, I'm dating with a roster. I'm sorry. Like I am not committing to anyone. Right. I want to not close off my options. And I would say it. And I think they were intrigued by it. Because they're like, wait, what? You know, like I never felt I needed someone to save me. I never felt I was only complete with a man. So I was fortunate. But when I, met my fiance, like, I was like, well, I'm sorry. Like I like you and we're having fun and I just want to date. I don't want to put a label, like, and I would travel and like, he would be like, okay, when you're ready. And I was like, okay, like, and it wasn't until one day he was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. We're talking like months and months. And I was like, oh, I understand. It's just that this is the only time in my life I've been able to be selfish. And then when we hung up the phone, I was like, wait, I can't not see him again. And then we started dating, and then we moved in, and that was it. I never left. He's the literal best, but I know for certain I wouldn't have had the bandwidth to have this type of relationship when I was raising my son. Yeah. I just wouldn't have. No, that was everything. It was the most, I was consumed, as a full-time mom.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's really hard. I can't imagine. And I also think you had the freedom to be in charge. Like, you didn't have other responsibilities that kind of were clearly going to take first place. Right. And I think that happens, but a lot of people don't think about it when they're in that situation. But I love the idea of letting people know on dates that this is what I'm doing.
By the way, it works like a charm.
No, I know.
Ladies, it works like a charm.
No, I used to do it too, because I had the business, and I didn't want to get married. I didn't really I couldn't handle relationships because they were very demanding of my time, and my business is so demanding of my time, and my creativity is wrapped here. So do I give that up? Whatever. And so I would just be very honest. Right. Like, here's the deal. Right. And it gave me so much power that I wasn't looking for, because I didn't care. Right. But all of a sudden I had this power over these relationships, and I found it fascinating because it changed the dynamic of the relationship, where you're no longer wondering if he's going to call you, or will I hear from, like, what the hell do you care? Like,
I tell all my friends that.
I'm good. Like, it was really nice meeting you, but or even when I met Marty, I said, I won't be able to see you for 3 months because
he's like, I love you.
I'm working on a project, and it was true. But I won't be able to see you. Right. And I'm sure, and I wasn't trying it was true. I'm sure he thought, oh, wait a minute. Right. Maybe I should see what's going on with her. So did you ever think, besides dating, which is really the hardest thing, do you think the age, like when you're dating in your 20s, you weren't dating in your 20s. You were,
30s.
So that's
I was married by the time I was 23.
And I was married at 19.
It's
so
crazy.
That's crazy.
Is that a
Yorkville thing? I hope not.
And it's almost like I feel like it's the opposite of a New York thing. Totally. So we did it, both of us.
Totally. Yeah. I don't know why, but we did. We were cute.
Yeah.
We were cute.
I think I was also like, a little impulsive.
But also we were probably more mature than most people because of being New Yorkers. Yeah. And that's it. So what advice would you give to an audience of women? I would say my audience is 25 to 55. And they're thinking about aging and how they see their lives over decades. What, from your perspective, you're much younger than I am, but in just your maturity to where you were, you have a son who's going to college, and where you are now, and you're getting married. So what's your observation through your experience?
So, I feel like I got married to an amazing guy. I'm very close with my ex-husband. He loves my fiance. I was just so young. And I think girls today get married later because they're more career focused. And luckily we have technology where you can freeze your eggs and that biological clock isn't ticking and you can wait. But I think even so, girls feel this pressure. Yeah. I would say, I was fortunate when I was dating after my divorce because I had a child and I had a career and I felt anything else was a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if women, and I do feel this through all stages of all ages, felt that if they were fulfilled with what they were doing, to me, that is the most romantic thing. If you have something you love to do and you can do it and you're passionate, I think that my relationship, I could never have a good relationship if I felt lost and had no idea what I was doing. I would also say that when you're in your 20s and 30s, you think aging is something that happens to other people. Mm-hmm. I remember.
I know. I totally agree.
Do you know what I mean? I remember the first time I got like a wrinkle, like I started to know, and I was like, wait a second. Like this only happens to like other people. This is not. And then now you're like, okay. And you can embrace it and you're aging. And look, I've lost so many people so young, like friends, my father, people died very young. So I think aging is such a privilege.
Yeah.
And if you can age in a way where you're fulfilled with your life, like I feel at this point, I'm where I need to be, which is a lucky feeling. Mm-hmm. At this age, I have a son who's in college doing what he loves for work when he's, not in college. I have a great fiance. I have great friends. I have health. I think also wear sunscreen is another one. You got to wear sunscreen. But I think most importantly, the advice I always say I would have given myself is don't listen to other people about things you want. My first job in college I was offered was for the Howard Stern show.
Oh, you're kidding.
And my mom told me that all her friends were like, oh, they told you should not. He's too controversial. You shouldn't work. And I was like, oh, really? And I ended up taking a job on Wall Street instead.
Oh, my God.
And I hated it. And I only stayed there for a couple months. But ironically, when I went back to stand-up, I ended up opening for Jackie Martling, who was on the Howard Stern show. And I was on Jackie's show on Howard 101 Sirius XM regularly.
That's
so I was like,
funny.
Ultimately, I ended up kind of in the same place. When people say don't do it and you feel in your gut it's something you want to do it. My second video, the no selfie zone, it was after the Starbucks video. My manager said, don't release it. It's not going to have as much success. And when you go to pitch your show, you don't want one really successful and the next one not.
Oh my God.
And I said, it's going to be more successful. And he was really like fighting me on it, my manager at the time. And I released it. And it did even better.
Yeah, totally.
That's actually, I'm changing it. Sunscreen and listen to your gut, not to judgment of others and not what other people tell you should be doing.
Yeah. I totally agree. I'm interested in your take on this. So I was telling you before that I'm thinking about getting a facelift for my 80th year. Is this something I want to do? Do I want to do it? I'm doing research. And then I realized that it's everybody. It's not people who are in my age group that are thinking about it, but it's everybody in younger than ever. And I have to say, quite frankly, I think the way the Kardashians have taken this idea of transformation, and I'm not sure, I don't know enough about them to know whether or not they agree that they have done work or do something, but they've transformed so magically. And I Kylie is gorgeous. I mean, what's wrong with Kylie? Absolutely nothing. Right. And she's thriving business and Kris Kardashian is a genius. And so everybody wanted to make fun of the Kardashians, this and this, but let me just tell you something. They're rocking it. They're doing everything. And they, to me, have proven that the idea of saying, I know this is natural, this is the way I've been, is the way everybody should behave. That, well, nobody believes that anymore. And everybody that can try something is going to try it. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? So the openness of it all, and the world of this cosmetic surgery, transformational surgery, what's your perspective on it?
I strongly believe that women should do whatever they want to do to their face. I saw a clip of Cher saying, like, she was being interviewed and they said, don't you think people are saying you did too much? And she's like, if I want to put my tits on my forehead, I will.
Right.
That's how I feel.
Right.
I will,
Right.
you know, I believe in aging gracefully on the inside,
Right.
but I will use scissors and whatever,
Right.
you know, whatever I
Yeah.
need to do. I mean, I'm sitting here right now and I have a Botox bruise on my cheek. So like I believe that women should do whatever they want to do. And I don't think it has anything to do with aging gracefully versus not. Because again, to me, aging gracefully is how you're living your life. You know?
Yeah.
You don't have to gauge how you're aging gracefully on your skin tone. You know, for me, it's, how are you with your friends?
Right.
Are you a good friend? Are you a good mom? Are you living your best life? Are you the kind of person you want to be? That's graceful. But I have no judgment about anything that people want to do. And I also don't believe this whole thing. I mean, yes, now everyone's starting to look the same, but you don't know if it's an Instagram filter or not.
Right.
Right. But everyone is trying to look the same. I think natural is like coming back in, the natural aesthetic, thank God. But I think that I really believe in my heart that people do things like plastic surgery or Botox or whatever to make themselves feel good. And I don't necessarily believe the argument that they're doing it because society makes them feel a certain way. I went for Botox this week because I needed it. And I wasn't like, what's society going to think if I don't do it? I mean, you know what I mean?
Right. I also, well, for me, I think what happens, and I think everybody will realize this as their skin ages, that you have to, so I do nothing because nothing right now is better because of the texture of my skin, the thinness of the skin.
Which, by the way, for those of you at home who can't tell, Norma's skin is the most beautiful skin.
No.
Yes.
And it's my skin, and it's what it is for me at this point in my life. But I do believe in this age we're living in that there are other options. So I want to see what the other options are, because like you said, when you feel totally fulfilled in who you are and what you're doing and your energy, you want to look in the mirror and like,
you want to see what you see inside.
Wait a minute. Whoa, you're okay, but I'm feeling a little. So that's what I'm thinking about. And I also think that there's several things happening at the same time. So AI
is terrifying.
And the avatar world we're in is also this perfection of, this ultimate perfection. And I think the idea of people wanting that, right? To have smooth skin, to have no bags under your eyes, to have, a perfect jawline. I get that. And I think the influence is more than just sort of this ideal of being beautiful or pretty. I think it's coming from lots of different directions, including the Kardashians, including AI, including all of this. And probably it's what should be happening. And that industry is evolving. So to using stem cells in my research, which I will be
well, let me know about
tracing
stem
in it.
cells.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I find it the most compelling out of all of the conversations. So I will be sharing that. But so I was curious about your point of view on it. But the idea, like you said, sunscreen and your self-esteem, working on how you feel about yourself is so critically important.
Because you could fix, so many things. You could lose the weight. You could get the plastic surgery. If you still feel bad inside, it does not matter.
Yeah.
I also want to say to your point, when I was growing up, we had magazines. We had the supermodels. It was like, Linda, Cindy,
That's right.
Naomi. And they were perfect in the magazines. And that's all we had was the magazines.
Right.
There was no internet. So you'd see them perfect in the magazines. You're like, oh, I could never look like that. And of course they were being airbrushed.
Yeah.
But we knew it was like a magazine was airbrushing, but they were still all so gorgeous it didn't matter. Now the problem is it's not just magazines. It's in our phone all day, all day, all day. And everyone's using filters and nobody like my friend said to me about someone's skin. She goes, look at her skin. She has no pore. I said, that's a filter.
Right.
Like, what? How are you falling for that?
Right.
Like,
how could you have no pores?
Right.
There comes a point. And, to your point before, where at a certain age, you thought you would never have wrinkles.
Right.
Like it's somebody else.
Yeah.
And I too felt the same way. I would look at people and think, oh, I'm good, And then all of a sudden one day when you're tired, that wrinkle doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
You're like,
this
I
is
guess
it.
this is
Yeah.
me now.
But I think the power of what you produce and what you do. So the book is coming out, and
it's coming out June 3rd.
June 3rd. And the audio, you'll try for that too?
I'm going to try for June 3rd.
And this is
it might
Amazon.
Be a little later. This is going to be Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and a couple of bookstores. And I really think everyone will love it and have a good laugh. And it's really a story about it's hilarious, really, truly. But it's also a story about, in the search for love, you really realize you're looking for yourself, which is important.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely republish the podcast on the date of your launch.
That would be amazing.
So we can remind everybody. I cannot wait. I'm so glad. I hope this is a gift.
Yes,
that
it's
I can
signed
have.
for you.
Yeah. Oh my God.
There's a dedication to you.
Awesome. I'm so happy. And I definitely desperate for a laugh. And I just so appreciate you. I shared you with so many people, but I'm so glad to share you through the podcast. And you deserve all the most wonderful things on this special birthday year coming up. And I know that you will have a wonderful life with this person who came at the right time.
The perfect time.
The perfect time is right.
I just got very lucky. So, and I'm so grateful you had me here. You know how much I love you.
I'm so glad we got you before you went off somewhere. Anyway, I love you, and I'm thrilled for you, and I'm so glad we're connected again, and we will meet again.
1,000%.
Absolutely. To Yorkville.
Yes, Yorkville forever.
I'd love you to click the follow button and send me your comments, and send everybody your comments about this fantastic show with Jena. Thank you.